Hi, everyone. Today I'm excited to have mystery thriller author Jeff Carson on the podcast. A few years ago, Jeff made a decision to write his novels and to write enough of them until he could do what he loved full time. And so this is going to be exciting for those of you who really want to, learn how you can make a full time living. Self-publishing your novels, and you can find more about Jeff at www.jeffcarson.co. So, hi, Jeff. Welcome to the
Hi,
show.
how you doing?
Good.
Hey,
It's
thanks
good.
for having me.
Yes, good to have you here. I hope I said that right. Is it .co?
Yeah, it is .co. There's like some
Okay.
just random guy with jeffcarson.com, and
Oh, okay.
so I couldn't. He won't sell it to me. So hey, there you go.
Okay. Well, that
So
happens. So,
yeah,
okay. I just wanted to double check that I said that right. Okay.
yeah.
I just really appreciate you, taking the time to chat. I was just inspired by your story. I think I first saw it was like a blog interview, sort of, on I think it was Louise Hornby's blog or something. She's an editor, proofreader,
Yeah.
and I was just inspired by your story. So I'm so glad you said yes to
Oh, well, yeah.
to chatting
I'm
on the
so glad you
podcast.
asked. Yeah, that was on Louise Hornby's. I think that's like the only other blog I've ever been on. So it's got
Yeah.
to be that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Oh, that's awesome. Well, would you, to get started, and just for people to get to know you a little better, would do you mind just sharing your story, how you got started writing, and then how you kind of got started on the self-publishing journey and ended up going full time?
Yeah. Um, it's kind of weird. I don't think I had like the writing bug ever. I didn't even know I had it until I started writing. I had like a I had like a portable business bug. That's what I wanted to have. Like for like 8 years ago, I remember just reading the 4 Hour Work Week,
Yeah.
by Tim Ferriss,
Yeah.
and then being like, oh, it was just like mind blowing. Like you could do a business just not going in. I think I've always been averse to having like a real job. I've always worked at golf courses and stuff like that, and just like been like, oh, I don't, I can't get a job, so I just won't even try, or whatever. I don't know. But so I wanted to do like a at home business, or just like wherever I wanted to be business. And so I got into blogging, and I learned about like affiliate marketing. I don't know if you know anything about that.
A little, not
Like
tons.
people like come to your blog and they click a link, and then you get a little piece. I mean, you get a little commission
Yeah.
for them buying something from your blog. So anyway, that was something I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to do this. This is great, and tried that, and just then I started teaching how to do it online, thinking I wanted to do that, and I think I just got to like such a dark place. It was just like people just bombarding me with questions like, does this really work, and this and that, and it was just like it was depressing.
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
and I was like, what am I doing? And I wasn't making like that much money in anyway. So I'm like, okay, what am I doing? Um, and it was just like a low point. I mean, like just like in a book and like a story. I was just like, okay, what am I going to do here? I could keep going with this and succeed at it, but I don't even want to do it.
Yeah.
And I just remember, like, through my contacts of like online marketing, I just like saw this guy's forum post about how he was writing books
Yeah.
and making money, and like making a lot of money, where he quit his job. And I was just like, what? Okay. So then I was like, okay, maybe I could just write books on how to make money online and stuff like that. And just do that. And then I started like looking into it, and then I'm just like, wait, people are writing stories about just like making up stories, and
Yeah.
that's how they're making money. Like, not only that, they're making more money than people, as far as I was seeing. Like, fiction seemed to be a much easier egg to crack. I mean,
Yeah.
there's just so many people are interested in just being, wrapped up in a story every night before they go to bed or
Yeah.
whatever. And I was the same way. And I just realized at that moment, I just remember that moment, I was just like, wow, I've always wanted to do this. And it was just like an epiphany that I remember telling my dad once when we went on, like, we were, just driving on cross country trips. And we used to listen to book tapes and stuff. all the time. We used to always listen to audiobooks, you know. And I just remember going, man, it would be so cool to be a novelist, you know. And I just remember just saying that a bunch of times in my life. But I always thought there was like something you had to do before that. You know, you had to do, I don't know, you had to make like $10 million or something, and then just have like no care about money, and then start trying to write books, you know. Like it didn't seem like a career, and I don't even know if it was much of a career, like, you know, back then, you know. I mean, I think it was the publishing industry, how hard it was to get into that and stuff like that. That's a whole nother thing. But anyway, my point is like, it was just like, wow, okay, wait a minute. And then from that moment, I was just hooked. I started reading everything I could on how to make a story. And I knew I wasn't probably like a good writer, but I knew I could probably make up some good stories. Or maybe, I don't know. I thought I was kind of a good writer, actually. I mean, I won't sell myself short there. I was like writing reports on how to make money online and stuff like that, and blog posts and stuff like that. And someone actually told me once, like, hey, you know, you're a good writer. That's a gift you have. And I was just like, really? Wow. And it just like, I don't know. It just like everything seemed to click in a few months. And I just remember thinking, all right, I'm doing this, and I'm not going to look back until it's done. So that's what I did.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, and I guess yeah. And I think something I mentioned in that blog post that I think you asked me about on the email was like, you know, I also made a goal of writing 10 books at that time.
Yeah.
Just to stave off the disappointment if it didn't work after
a certain number. You had a number in mind. Yeah.
Yeah, but I like tried to like double it, you know, or like even triple in my mind. I was like, I hope after 3 books I can make some money at this, and like, so my wife doesn't go, hey, what are you doing? You know,
oh, fair. That's good. Yeah,
you know,
right.
And then I'm like, okay, well, I'll just say 10, and then after 10, it's like, if I can't make it work after 10, I should probably start looking at something else.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and that, you know, that takes a lot of persistence to get all the way to 10 books, right? It does. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's how I started.
That is great. So I just wanted to ask, so, you know, just because I know that there are people like writers listening, so either, you know, male or female, but they are also married is, you know, because that's probably concern for the other person. Yeah. What are you doing? So, right. You know, so you probably just had to discuss, you know, your goals together, right?
I had to like I felt like I had to make my case, like a scientific case for it. Just like, okay, look at this guy. Okay, I've emailed him, I'm talking to him, and he's telling me, you know, nobody's telling you like, I'm making $22,000 this month or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, but they're like, this guy was like saying like, dude, in the last 3 months, I've made more than I've made in my job that I quit in 1 year. And I'm just like, okay. And then my wife's like, okay, well, how good was his job? You know, and he's like, you know, I'm like, well, you know, I mean, you just got to have some faith at some point and then just be like, all right, well, I can make this work. I'm going to do it. And then I wasn't able to just quit working other jobs. I had to just take like a job there's like a multi-millionaire guy that, he just hires people on every summer to take care of his lawn and stuff. So like his huge acreage. And so I did that, you know, and then all I did that time is just listen to book tapes. So, I mean, and so it just, you know, it was good.
Yeah.
And in fact, I miss it now that I'm sitting in front of the computer all the time. I wish I was out there in the sun, you know, listening to book tapes and getting paid for it. But at the same time, you know, then there was a point finally, like after the second or third summer, where I was doing that, and I started seeing that I was making just as much money as I was there. You know what I mean? It was just like kind of doubling my income. And I was just like, okay, well, what if I just did writing full time?
Yeah.
And just worked on that. So then I quit, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. So,
but my question was, my wife, I had to be obvious. I mean, she was very understanding. She's super understanding, and she was supportive. You know, I mean, a thing, I guess.
Yeah.
But,
Well, and that's, I mean, that's normal in any kind of, when you're married. It's like a partnership. So you just talk out things and goals on how to get there, right? On what, and
well, she was looking at me, how miserable I was doing other stuff.
exactly.
So please do something that makes you happy. Like, she literally probably said that to me 10 times. And I'm just like, and she was good at, like, I thought, even like starting out writing, I thought like I had to start out with nonfiction and then maybe go into fiction after that. You know? I don't know why I thought that. And she's just like, why are you adding that step of nonfiction in there? And I'm just like, I don't know. And that was true. And I think what I excelled at was making up stories of like fiction.
That's so great. That's so great. Okay. So when you start, so you said you set goals and stuff, but I'm curious, in that goal setting, so did you decide right off the get-go that you were going to write a series?
Yes. And that was the other thing. Yeah. Cause I think I just felt so much pressure we had a brand new child, and I just felt so much pressure monetarily.
Yes.
And I just looked at the evidence of, okay, well, think of the people I like to read is Lee Child. And why do I like to read him? Well, because of Jack Reacher. I don't read any of other Lee Child's other books. I couldn't even tell you one right now. I don't even know. But I know Jack Reacher,
Yes.
and I've read them all, and then Vince Flynn, and then, just any Clive Cussler, Dirk Pitt, it's like any of the people I thought about. And then you just read about people saying, you should probably write a series if you want to be successful. And I don't know. That's what people were saying in the books that I was reading about how to write and make a living on writing.
Yeah.
So from the get-go, I knew it was going to be a series. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. So you really researched to know what would be the best way to move forward so that you could make a full-time living at this, right? Yeah.
And I think I immediately screwed up with the first book, but whatever. Yeah.
But it's a learning.
Oh yeah. I had to rewrite it, but it's still just like this huge screw up in my series. If you look at my series, that it's the setting is Western, the Western U.S., the Mountain West.
Yeah.
And it's like a sheriff turned a detective in the mountains of Colorado.
Oh, okay.
The first book is called Foreign Deceit, and it takes place in Italy. He goes to Italy. And so it's very misleading to people who come into the series. They're like, okay, Foreign Deceit, looks like it's Italy. It's probably espionage. It's probably international type stuff. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
And so yeah. Anyway, that's just something I have to live with and move on with. But,
I think that's normal though, right? Because we're just kind of going into it and we don't know every single answer when we're starting, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. So you made that decision. I kind of just want to break this down, I guess, for people listening. But okay, so you made that decision, and so you're still working a job. So you decided what, a certain time of the day that you're going to write, and did you decide daily goals, weekly goals, monthly goals, yearly goals? Like how did you go about that?
Yeah, I think I remember when I first started writing, also I read a book called, I don't know what it's called, but it's Brian Tracy. He writes books, a bunch of books about goals.
Frog? Is it Eat That Frog?
It's one of those. He has 40 books about goals.
Oh,
basically.
Or it might be a goal setting. Yes. No, I have a lot of his on audio. So.
Yeah. So I read one of his books, and I remember just realizing, oh man, the power of goals is just huge, and I didn't realize it. I'm just like, wow, and so I just started writing goals every day. What you do is you have one of these notebooks and just write your goals.
So for every day or every week or
for every day,
yearly?
Yeah, every day. But I won't do it every day now.
Yeah.
I just forget half the time. But,
okay.
But sometimes I'll do for a full month. I'll do it every day. Yeah. And it's just, you say, I write book 11 by September 22nd.
Okay, so you put a date on it.
Then you go to the next
Yeah.
one. I am in the best shape of my life, or I don't know. You think you make them more. I finish the workout, that I'm doing or whatever by October 15th.
Okay.
And then so there has to be it has to be a present moment thing with a date attached.
Yeah.
And that triggers something in your brain that makes you do it.
Oh,
apparently.
okay.
but,
No, that's good. So
but the
present
most
tense
depressing-
with an action verb and with a date assigned to it. Yeah. That
And
makes
never
sense.
look back and see what you wrote before because it's depressing. You're like, gee, I was supposed to write 10 books 3 years ago, I thought that would happen 3 years ago, But and your goals and your times shift every single day.
Yeah.
But the point is you're actually every day purposefully doing something. Do you know what
Yes.
I mean? Yeah. So
That's really good. I could see why that would really stick in your mind,
yeah.
if you've written it down.
Subconscious, I think is what, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So can we just if you're okay with it, can we just move into a little more about the details on how you write? For example, do you begin with do you sketch out the whole series you want to write? Do you use an outline? Do you write a description at the end of every writing session, or at the beginning? Do you write a description of the scene you're writing that day, that sort of thing? How do you?
I think it just changes it morphs, but I think what I've learned is, I have to have an outline. I have to know, not precisely where I'm going, but I have to know, the inciting incident. I have to know the first plot point. I have to know the midpoint. I have to know the third plot, the second plot point, or the beginning of the third act, or whatever you want to call it, and then the climax. Sometimes I'll know exactly what's going to happen in the climax, before I even begin the book. It's weird, and sometimes
That's awesome.
that happened on my fifth book, Cold Lake, which I wish would happen more often because it's my most popular book. But I just thought of an action scene that would be so cool, and I was just okay, now I got to bend everything
to fit that.
To fit that.
Yeah.
And then I find also in other books, if I do come up with something and I'm trying to bend it into that, then it just doesn't work. It's just a really weird system that I can't get a grasp on. I don't think it's and then the other thing I learned was through a book called The Successful Novelist, and I don't remember.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I've read that one.
It's by a guy. I'm sorry, I have it written right. It's by the guy who wrote the book First Blood, which was turned into Rambo. I should know his name.
Yes.
The father of
I can't think.
David Morrell.
Oh, okay.
David.
Yes. Yeah.
But anyway, he says that what he did was he used to just do conversations with himself. So at least you're just writing. So you just open up a document and you go, "Hey, how you doing, Jeff? Hey, pretty good. What's up?" And then you just start talking about what you want to write about, and then you say why is that so cool?
Yeah.
And you're just well, I don't know, because of this, and why? And then you just keep asking yourself why, and then you really delves down into things, and then I'll have 50,000 words written by the end of a book of just conversation that I have with myself. That's in a separate thing, it's basically part of this book too,
Yeah.
That turns into the outline. But in the end, I have to do an outline. I have to know exactly which scene I'm writing, or else I just sit there and I go, I can't write it.
Yeah.
And I think something, I don't know where I read this either, but something that really helps me, I think it's the snowflake method.
Oh, okay.
Well, have you read that
Randy Ingermanson. I think.
Yes.
I'm not sure how to say his name.
Or something.
But, yeah.
Yeah, but he's really good. I like him. Yeah. And he says goal, conflict, setback.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Every single scene has a goal.
Yeah.
Conflict. What's the conflict? What's the setback at the very end? And I think that's the most important thing ever that I've ever learned.
So every scene has that. That's what you're saying.
Every scene, every chapter
has that.
Everything. Yeah, because you want if it's if you're finishing a chapter, you want a setback to end that chapter.
Right.
And then go to the next chapter, and then they're going to be oh, now I got to keep reading, see what happens to that.
That's the goal.
You know, that's the goal. Yeah, exactly. And so, and there could be like goal, conflict, setback, goal, conflict, setback, goal, conflict, setback in that chapter. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Of course. Yeah.
But each scene, yeah, it's a goal, conflict, setback. But yeah.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Well, no, I was just curious how you write and what helps you to really focus on the scene you're writing that day. So I was just curious what you're.
I think that literally happened yesterday. I remember going, oh, I need to start writing that at the top of each chapter. I'll put goal, conflict, setback.
Yeah.
And then I'll say goal and then literally write it out and then scroll underneath it and write it.
Yeah. Actually, I could totally see that. I'm going to try that. I've never thought of it to write it out like that. Like I've written out paragraph descriptions, but I've never like really separated it like that. Like, you know.
Because that's that feeling when you start writing and you're like, where am I going with this?
Yeah.
Well, you don't know the goal, you know, like that happened to me yesterday. I was just like, oh, geez, I don't even know what her motivation is in the scene. Why am I even writing this scene? Why do I even want to have this scene, you know? And then the goal, boom, there you go. And then the conflict kind of comes more naturally, I think. Yeah. Well, it should, or seems not having.
I mean, because as you think of a story, you're also thinking of the character, and you get more insight into the character, which means you're going to get more insight into what her goals are or his goals are, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then I guess the other big thing is I'll have overarching conflicts in the book, and I read, I just learned that you should have at least 3 main conflicts in a book, and so like the external conflict. So for me, it would be like the murder that happened in wherever, the dead body. That's he's got to figure out who did it. So that's the external one. The internal is like, well, him and his ex-wife are fighting, and they're kind of getting back together, but they're not. Whatever. That's it. Well, I don't know if that's internal or personal, but okay. So that's a conflict, but it's something that's happening.
Yeah.
And then personal maybe is like someone he's working with during this case he's butting heads with that person, just throughout the whole thing. And if you can tie all 3 of those, if you can, the more precise you can wrap those 3 up at the end of the book, the more satisfying it'll be for the reader. That's what I try to do too, which is,
yeah,
it's like solving a 10-page equation or something. I don't know. Sometimes it's like, but
that draws readers in though, right? Because we want to help solve the puzzle in our head. This is what, don't you think? Like as readers,
so like the guy, like your character would be like, man, she's pissing me off as he hangs up the phone, and then he thinks of, but she was, but what she said reminds me of this, and then then he goes and he solves the external conflict. You know what I mean? Like it's just, it all came down to that climactic.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, these are all in the books that I read, I think.
Yeah. We all learn from different sort of writing craft books or goal setting books or whatever, right? I mean, because sometimes we just need a different perspective, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
I think the one that I'm talking about right there is the Red Sneaker Diary, the Red Sneaker Writers or something like that series. Have you ever heard of those?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not who.
I can't remember his name, but it's the Red Sneaker Society or something. If you just looked up Red Sneaker, how to write books, I mean, it would be, and he has some good, they're audiobooks. So like if I take a walk, I'll just listen to him all the time. And I've heard like all 6 of his books many times. And
I'll need to, I like audiobooks. I like walking and listening.
He's fun. Yeah. Walking.
Yeah.
That's key. Yeah. But.
So what would you say then? Because you made that goal to write all these books, right? Which is wow, kudos, that's awesome.
Oh, thanks.
And so what has helped you the most to increase your writing productivity so you could write that many novels? To reach your goal of writing full time, right?
Yeah. I think the goals thing really helped. Like just every day. you write that goal down and you see that deadline, and you know in your mind your deadline keeps getting longer and longer, it kind of makes you angry inside, and you're like, I got to just finish this damn thing, and I'm so sick of doing it for 3 months, and it's no better than it was the first day I thought of the whole story, you know what I mean? I twist it around and this and that, and usually figure out that like the first way I thought of it or the second way or whatever is the best.
Yeah.
But I also feel like I'm personally don't think I'm that prolific, you know what I mean? And it's something I need to deal with mentally all the time, is because I do this full time, and it's like I'm only coming up with 2 books a year, which is, whatever. Some people will say that's good. Some people will say that's not good. But I feel like I could probably get 3 out or more, 4.
Yeah.
Just seeing the way I had, butt my head against some of these projects.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I saw that question of yours, I was just like, oh, I don't know if I feel like I'm that productive, but.
But still, I think when I look at indie authors that are writing full time, it seems like persistence is at least half the battle.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Sticking with it and deciding I'm just going to do this, right?
Yeah, it's like so weird. I keep talking about this to my wife, how the point of the story mirrors your life, or mirrors the struggle you have with writing the story. Like in the midpoint of a story, there's always like okay, you've seen all that you're going to see, like in a mystery, all the clues and stuff. And in the middle, the character is supposed to have like a mirror moment where he looks in the mirror or whatever and says, can I do this? Can I actually solve this thing, or am I going to give up, or am I going to quit? Or, and I'll notice that like my external life is the same way. I'm just be like, Christina's like, you're in the middle of the book, aren't you? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, you always get like this. Like, I'm always like, come downstairs. I'm like, I can't finish this book. Like, it's just not, it sucks. It's just like, I shouldn't have even started writing this book, She's like, you're in the middle of the book, aren't you? I'm like, yes.
Very perceptive wife.
Yes. After 9 books, or she can figure it out. Yeah. But I mean, it's like, it's clockwork, and it's like,
yeah.
And then, you're super energetic at the end of the book when you're like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
But I'm trying to figure out how to tamper myself, like just not get so caught up in that, Being a full-time writer, it can be very tough to be stuck in the middle of a book for 2 months, Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's probably where, so when you feel stuck, do you sort of go back and, I don't know, do you do stuff like read what you've written so far, or do you like go back to your outline and say, okay, where is this headed? Or what do you do?
Or like something's always broken, right? Like something's always wrong.
Yeah.
Like in this last one, I'm like, why? I figured out like there was someone undercover, and that was causing so many issues that I would have to back explain, like in passing and stuff. And it was just like, what if he's not undercover?
Yeah.
And it's just like, and then you have to like, what I do is I like to write, the conversations with myself. And that's how I came up with that epiphany. Or maybe it was a walk. I don't remember. But, you just got to get away from it and just let your brain stop for a while. And
actually, that really does help. Going for a walk and just, sometimes it's amazing. You'll get these ideas, right?
Yeah, exactly. But that's,
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my thing right now, is to get through those blocks faster. I feel like it's just, I don't know what to do, but except for you just write forward.
Yeah.
Realize the first draft is going to be super bad. And I think it seems to get harder for me the more I write and the more popularity the books get, I feel like, because then I'm like, okay, well, this next one's got to be good. Can't be bad.
So it's extra pressure.
And then but the first draft is going to be bad. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's just this weird thing you got to get through for sure. Every book.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, because I think that's a normal thing right? For a lot of writers is that extra pressure. What was I listening to? It was a little thing. Someone was talking about how Elizabeth Gilbert wrote Eat, Pray, Love. And then someone had asked her, because that was like, I don't know, a lot of money that she made from that, right? With the movie and
Yeah.
everything. And then someone had said, well, like, what are you going to write now? Because like,
Right.
what's going to top that? And she just said, I'm just going to keep writing.
Yeah.
Because you're a writer and you just write, right?
Yeah. And I'm sure she said it like that, but I'm sure she was thought about it a lot harder
Yeah.
than that.
Yeah.
But then when she was asked the question, I'll just keep writing.
No,
But,
I'm sure we all go.
Maybe.
Yeah. Sort of moving on from, I guess, writing into self-editing, because that's part of getting a book out, right?
Yeah.
So do you have like a process or a plan that
Yeah,
you
now I do.
for self-editing, and then
Yeah, now I do. I think I used to just kind of get it done and then just give it up to the person who's like, fix it. And then there would still be a lot of errors in the books. I mean, there's still going to be errors in the books, but now, like I finally realized, like you got to have like a super plan in place, and then also it just like totally cleans up your writing. Like if you just go in and look up the word "is" in your book, and every single time try to remove it.
Yeah.
Or there were, they were, become, became, just
I use that a lot.
Yeah, like anything like that's going to make it a passive voice. There's going to be the word in it, was.
Because you're trying to get rid of the passive voice and make it
and you
active,
don't even,
right?
I just don't even see it half the time.
Yeah.
And then, but as soon as you do something like that, and again, you can look it up and, so this book, that helped me a lot it's called Sizzling Style, and it's by that Red Sneaker Diary guy.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I can't think of his name, but.
Oh, and that's on editing.
And that's on, he makes it the point in there to do a self-editing search of, find these words. It'll take you all day or 2 days, but it'll make your book that much better. And if you just look up, is, was, all those words, and he has a whole list of them and stuff. And then all of a sudden your book is just the passive voice is filtered out.
Yeah.
Where you don't see it. The helping verbs, like he was cutting the board, and then instead of just he cut the board.
Oh, okay.
Like
I get rid of the.
And it's he cut the board is so much more immediate and powerful than he was cutting the board. It's like
right.
You take out the word was. You're always like most of the time there's going to be an ing verb after that, which is a helping verb.
Right.
You take those out, change it to cut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's really good. I do the same thing, give it to an editor, but I think I could do a lot more self editing. Like I do self editing, but I don't know if I think I have too many ing, which is the passive. Yeah, I need to do a little more of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and with the plan, it's just like
Yeah.
get a plan, or it's not even much of a plan. It's just do those searches.
Yeah.
And then as the more you write, you start spotting that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
As you're writing it too.
Well, that's true. That's true.
But the first draft is, I'm trying to. I think you asked me about the writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'll do like a 30-minute timer on my just on my screen there. I have a little click and it counts down 30 minutes and it beeps when I'm done. And you're just supposed to try. I just try to get as many words out as possible at that point.
Yeah.
In those 30 minutes. So I'll just put in a bunch of ing verbs and a bunch of passive voice because I just want the story out.
Yeah, you just want the story out. And that makes sense. Once it's in your head, you just want to download it and not have to think about all these other stuff, right?
Exactly.
Like on the first draft, I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, the first draft. Exactly.
Yeah.
And
that makes
the
sense.
crux of everything, I think, is
it's just getting it out.
Yeah.
Just moving on just a little bit. So, now the book is out. So are there tips that you've, in this whole process of, starting from scratch and then, writing these books, what have you done to grow your email list for your fiction?
Okay, so my email list, I put in a link at the beginning of my book, and then links to all my books at the beginning of the book. And then at the end of the book, I say, thank you for reading. Reviews are, really helpful. And what I did is, basically I'll just like buy someone's book and then go to the back and copy what they did, make it my own, not copy it, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
rewrite it so you
So it's
see
your
that.
voice.
I mean, if they're successful and they have 3,000 reviews on their book, well, they must be doing something right. I mean, obviously the book is good.
Yeah.
That's key.
Yeah.
But they're asking in the right way at the end. So
Yeah.
I just take exactly what they say, make it my own, put it in there, and put a link to my blog page where I have a download to a free short story if they sign up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember that I only did that after 4 books after the 4th book. So on my 5th book, I did that.
Oh, okay.
I remember going to my wife, like, I don't think this is going to be a good launch on the 4th book. And she was like, wow, could you get more negative about it? Like she was just like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, no, seriously, wait a minute. Like if you think about it though, I mean, who's going to buy the book if you just publish it on Amazon? Okay, well, you have to go beg your friends and family, and maybe a few of them will read it or buy it. Not read it, they'll just buy it. So yeah, I was just like, okay, wait a minute. These people who have been telling me for 4 books that you need to list are, they're real. I mean, I had to just click in my brain. I don't know why I was ignoring the list thing, but I mean, if I would tell your listeners anything, get a list now. Like, quit your book right now, whatever you're writing, and write the short story that you're going to give away.
Yeah.
Put it on your blog, figure all that out, and then move on to keep writing.
Yeah.
I think it's the most important thing you could possibly do.
Yeah.
And then the way I gather new readers is just I figure, like, I kept looking at people saying, I do Facebook ads to get readers. And I'm like, I just didn't believe it for some reason. I was like, well, I would never do that. So why would anybody else do that? Like, I would never sign up for an email list in sincerity. I mean, I don't know. It probably works for a lot of people. I don't like to poo-poo other people's stuff, but I'm just saying, like, for me, I was like, I don't believe it. I feel like the book itself is like the biggest sales pitch ever. And then if they like your book at the end, they're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to sign up for this email list to make sure I get the next, new release. I just call it a new release newsletter. I don't, tell them I'm going to bombard them. And I don't really bombard them at all. I just kind of email them maybe like 2 weeks before the book.
Yeah.
And I'll add like the first chapter on the email.
Oh, good idea. Yes.
Then maybe 1 week before the book, and I'll add the second chapter. And then the day of the launch, I'll email the list. And then a couple days later, I'll launch it at like $2.99 for a couple days. And I don't know if this is right. I probably should not do that. I mean, the last book I did 99 cents for a month and a half as a launch. I mean, and that's the other thing. I just mess around and try different stuff. But usually I do $2.99 and then raise it to $4.99 after a couple days. And so I'll email my list a couple days after I launched it and tell them, hey, I'm going to raise the price, and then that'll get some more sales. You know what I mean? And then I'll email them again like a week later and say, thanks for reviewing the book.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of the system I do, the series of emails I do. And then after that, I don't email them for another 5 months until I have another book. But yeah, which is probably something I need to work on. But
no, that's really helpful. And that totally makes sense to have a free, short story or something for people who want to sign up. Because if people are interested in your books, that means they love what you're writing, right? So then they would love a free book, and so then they would love to, be part of your email list. Yeah, totally makes sense.
My
to me.
email list is like not, anything near the size of what these other people are saying. Like they're saying, like I've got 30,000 people on my list. I don't even have 10,000 people on my list, but it seems like they're super organic and responsive.
Yeah.
It seems like,
which is awesome, right?
yeah, which I'm enjoying. I mean, I love I'll send them an email and I'll get like a bunch of emails back and talk to people and stuff. And so, yeah.
Oh, that's
they're very
great.
responsive,
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would be your top 3 tips for new fiction writers who are just getting started, writing their novels, and learning how to self-publish and all that, and whose goal is to make at some point a living with their writing? What would be your top 3 tips for new?
Well, yeah, I guess like that's so huge. What you just said there is like the goal has to be that.
Yeah.
And that's like, so you just say that, whatever. But I mean, that is so important, like, because everything you do will spawn off of that. It's like, if you feel like, I know, I mean, I've talked to people who are just like, I just want to make a few extra bucks, writing stories. Like, it's like, well, that probably won't even happen then. If you're going to approach it that way. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to approach it like you want to make a living and then you might make a few extra bucks. You know what I mean? Or, I don't know. I made a living. I mean, it was 100% chance in my brain that it was going to happen. It just happened. I mean, it's like, that's what's got to be on your brain. It's like, I'm going to make a living with this.
Yeah.
As long as it takes. Yeah. Like, I had to rewrite my first book like 5 times. I mean, it was just like, they hated it. Like, you can look at my reviews. It's like, I had a cliffhanger ending to get them to buy the second book. And they're like, screw that. Like, nice ending, And so I had then, I mean, just, you have to, persistence, like you were saying. So anyway, that's the first thing I would say is have the goal. The correct goal is make a living online.
Yes.
Or make a living writing. And then I think the series thing is big.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if the next, the goal that falls in line next would be, okay, what's the easiest way to do that?
Yeah.
For people? What's the evidence out there? Like, for people, I mean, there's a lot of people who make it big with 1 or 2 books, but it's going to take a lot of books, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I made the 10 book series, 10 books in a series, because as soon as you start gaining readers after book 4, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, I'm going to start an espionage series now. Like 90% of those people are going to be like, okay, well, I want to know about David Wolf, my character.
Yeah. Because now they're hooked, right?
I'm hooked on his life, not your writing. You know what I mean? That's what it is. It's like, so anyway, I just see that a lot. I feel like is like people pull the rug out from under their own career and they think they're moving forward or something. I don't know. Or people that ask me the questions, what to do when I'm looking at their stuff. I'm like, well, why did you go to this sci-fi from, or whatever it is? Maybe try just building out what was working. So, and I think that's what has helped me over the course of my career is I stopped myself from, there was a point where I was going to start writing a different series. So, well, might as well just keep going with what's working. So anyway, the series, and then what else did I say?
Well, like, so the persistent and having that goal and then writing a series, would there be any other, tips that you would have for new fiction writers?
Yeah. And risking alienating a bunch of people. I would say stay away from the forums, I think.
Yeah. Because it's too distracting. Is that what you mean?
Well, it's like, if you want to make a living at it, and then then why would you go into a huge room full of people complaining why they're not making a living at it?
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry that if it's like sounds cold, but I mean, like, you have to think like that. I mean, I think it's like a weird dichotomy of like, okay, I know everything from these other people. All right. So just shut them off and do it.
Yeah.
Then after 3 books, you realize, oh, I haven't made a list. What an idiot, you know? And then you make a list. Then you go back, you pull them back in, you go into the forums, you learn what you're missing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you have to just shut it off, like, for months, I think.
Yeah.
And get the book.
Otherwise, it's too discouraging, right? If
it's so discouraging to hear story after story after story of people not making it. Like, why would you fill your head with that?
Yeah. Yeah, because then it doesn't give you the courage to be persistent and make those goals if you're always being bombarded, right?
All you got to do is just email people who are doing it and ask them for advice. Yeah. And just hear their stories. Yeah. All over the place. And just surround yourself by the people who are doing it. And even in the, like, how to write books. Yeah. You know, you have to ignore the end of those where they're like marketing your book. And they always talk about how impossible it is to, you know, to get a cover letter or I mean, to get the attention of an agent and then to get the attention of a publisher and this and that. You know what I mean? Because we're self-publishers. We're not. Yeah. Don't fall into that trap. No. So you close the book and you go, okay, whatever. They don't know what they're talking about here. Yeah. But it's great how they talked about all that writing, you know. So anyway, my point is just keep your eye on the prize and just talk to only people who've done it. Yeah. That's the point. Like. Yeah. I mean, or, you know what I mean? I mean, yeah. If you're looking to see what direction you should go, why would you talk to anyone unless they're like in the direction you want to go? Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
You know, that totally makes sense, right? Otherwise, it'll take you off track from your goal, right? And so,
like you said, it's like discouraging. It's like this. Ugh. Yeah. Just sucks life out of your soul. You know?
Yeah, and you don't need that, right? You don't need that when you're writing. It's enough of a battle to get the story down.
I know. Exactly. So anyway.
No, that's really good. That's really helpful, Jeff. Yeah. You know, thanks so much for sharing today. This is awesome. Would you tell listeners what new books, projects you have on the go, and then where can readers and listeners find you online?
So you can go to jeffcarson.co, and just whatever, just email me at jeff@jeffcarson.co. I mean, that's basically the point. If you ever wanted to get in touch with me, you could do that. I guess I'm on Facebook, Jeff Carson Author, I think it's called. And then my next project is called Rain, which is the next David Wolf book, 11.
Oh, that's great. And when is that due out?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, I don't mean to put you on the spot. Or you know.
No. Yeah, it's going to be this fall. I think it's going to be October 28th. Yeah. I just started sweating as I said that, but yeah. But I think it's going to be October 28th, but I have to go. We're going to Italy in like 2 weeks, so that's why I'm like
awesome.
Freaking out about the timeline. Yeah. The book, but I think it should be or early November at the latest. But yeah. Yes.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Well, Jeff, thanks so much for taking the time to chat and share all your hard-earned wisdom in the writing and self-publishing world. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.